In this lesson, we're going to go ahead and set up this menu here. This is our main menu for the whole site. And you see it has these lovely little rollovers, and it's positioned over here on the header. So we'll go ahead and get started. In our text editor, we have where we left off in the last lesson. And we have there our beginning HTML and beginning.css out of the 04 menu folder in our exercise files. So we'll start by doing our save as. I'm going to save this as header HTML, and our CSS we will save as main.css. All right. The first thing we're going to do here is we're going to insert the HTML for our header. And so there's the div for positioning our main menu. And inside here we have an unordered list. And again, this is so that it looks nice for browsers that don't support the graphical or the CSS. There's 4 line items. And so I'm going to go ahead and paste that into 4 places. So I use copy and paste a lot. This saves a lot of typing. Put in this home.html here, and this one is going to have class equals current, and that's the way that we specify which one of these links is the current page. So we're going to start by laying out the home page. On the gear page, that one will be the current, and on the lifestyle page, that one will be the current, and here the home is the current. So it's just a place to start. And so I'm going to do my copy and paste here again. Copy and paste, and this one will be gear, and this one is not current, and this is gear.html. And so that is going to be a lot like the other two, so I'll go ahead and paste that into the other 2 places. And so we have lifestyle, and that's lifestyle.html, and videos. And so save. And so this is the HTML for our main menu. We go ahead and look at this in the browser now, drag this header.html into the browser, you see that it's all in text and even pushed the whole div down. And so what we're going to do is we're going to change the way that that works in the CSS. And so for browsers that don't have the CSS, they'll see this. But we're going to go ahead and change it using CSS. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create our main menu section using comment. And we'll set up our main menu div. All right. And this is position absolute. And left 320 pixels and bottom 0. And so this lines it up 0 pixels from the bottom, whereas our contact link is lined up at the top. And then our unordered list is going to be set up for no list style. And no margin and no padding. And the line items, likewise, are going to float left and have no margin or padding. And so what this does, it's very interesting to see. Reload this in the browser. This is still the unordered list, but it's not acting like a list because it has no list style. And each of these elements is right up against each other. because we've taken out all their margin and padding. We've positioned it 320 pixels from the left. List style none, so there's no bullets or anything. The line items are each floating left, and you remember what happens when you float items next to each other, floating them left? Is they're just all right up against each other. So this sets it up for what we're going to do next. Now, this is a selector that selects the A element in its link state when it's inside of an LI, when it's inside of this main menu div. So that targets just this one set of links. So in our XHTML, that targets these arefs inside because they're inside of the context of this main menu. And so that's how that selector works. And we'll go ahead and copy and paste because our next one is going to be visited pseudo element. And so just like up here, we're setting up for the link and the visited for our main style for this. Okay, so we have the font family, which is Trebuchet MS or sans serif. So it'll select this Trebuchet MS font if you have it, and if you don't, it'll select whatever your default sans serif is. Display block makes it into a block element. Color is white. Text decoration is none, and that turns off the underlining that's normally done on links. Padding 0, 15, 0, and 30 pixels. And so that's starting at the top and going clockwise. It's top, right, bottom, and left. And that's our padding. This lines up the text to match the image that's going to be in the background of this element. We have margin right. It's 10 pixels. And line height is 25 pixels. So all that's about lining up the text in the image. I've already done all of these measurements, so I know that it works. All right, so this finishes setting it up, and we're using a very similar technique here. This nav rollover has the two images in it. Let me go ahead and show you that. Create a tab here. I'm pressing Control T in my browser. It would be Command T if you're on a Mac. I'm going to go ahead and find this nav rollover right there. And you see that it's got the two images in it. It's got the top image and it's got the bottom image. So in this case, we're starting with the bottom image, so we're lining at the left bottom. And we'll use the top image for the rollover version. But we'll go ahead and take a look at this in the browser right now. Reload, and there's our images. So that loads those images, and it uses them as a background, and then we just have the text from the unordered list. See, so the image is this one, and it's got the little flower, and the text is just showing up right there. And there it is. Now our rollover will use the other image, and it'll dim the text. Let's just go ahead and do our copy and paste here. So this will change the color of the text to this mustard color. And background position, we know this trick already, will now be left and top. We have to change these pseudo element selectors to be hover and active. Hover is when the mouse is hovered over, and active is when you're actually clicking on the link. So go ahead and take a look at this in the browser now, and we have, see, it uses the darker image and the mustard colored text. So that's exactly how it is in here. So now all that's left is to make this current style, and that is accomplished like this. So that moves our margin up by 5 pixels. Changes the height to 30 pixels. And that selects that different image and the different text color, the gray text color, and a little bit of text positioning here. So we'll go ahead and save that. And when we reload, you'll see that the current one now has this other look to it, but you'll notice that my cursor is still changing to a pointer like it's a link. And when we look at this one, it doesn't do that. So we have one more style to add, which will make that happen. Go ahead and copy this selector and paste it in down here and add the hover pseudo selector and cursor default. And that makes the cursor not change on the link. Go ahead and reload. And now you see the cursor doesn't change on the link. It actually does have a link, but it links to, its own page. So that's okay. But that makes that all work just like that. So now we've created our main menu, and we can go ahead and work on the rest of the page that we're going to use for our template in creating all of the rest of the pages in the site.